Hello and welcome to the Overlap Rugby podcast number 16.
Yeah.
Daragh, that's Shane.
Hello.
We are back with probably a shorter episode, probably just 50 minutes.
It's a little bit pressed for time as I'm rushing off to work soon enough. But
we may get something done later in the week. It's Wednesday as we're shooting this. But so it's probably going to be mainly Lions focused.
Indeed.
So we're going to start with a review of the first game. 30 points to 15 to the All Blacks. Pretty much what we expected.
Although we didn't quite expect the kind of, I suppose the backline they finished the first half with was not ideal for what they had in mind anyway. So we didn't quite get to see what all that could have panned out. And Gatton was right in saying that they did play a very direct game. It was like we pointed out the last time as well. Like I think it feels like the defensive system the Lions have been working with the press and the scrum half sweeper is expecting the All Black counter to the blitz to be the chip kick, which means that it made good sense that they would not do that and instead opt to go on the inside and attack around and hit hard off 9 and just come back on the inside. And really they had the bit between their teeth with all this. It's the same as like Lions' hubris about dominating a few packs shorn of their leaders a lot of the time throughout this tour, to have a false sense of supremacy, I guess, in that area, and makes Hansen's job really easy for test week when it's like these boys reckon they're going to bully you up front.
Yeah,
and have the likes of Retallick
in the post-match presser. I was always very sceptical of that. I was always picturing sort of a Brodie Retallick, with the bit between his teeth, having not had to go against the Lions yet, watching them dominate. It was never going to be that easy for them. I did say, I think in the preview, that they really should look to attack tight. That's why I really thought they should have selected Sevilla, but obviously they chose to keep their wingers wide and really use the forwards.
I was also super impressed with how they protected Ioane in terms of the high ball. They were constantly swapping wings to just have him not under the box kicks.
Yeah, still a risk having him there, but obviously 2 tries is good. He's very, very quick. Quickest player on that.
Quick. Made Daly look like an absolute slouch, and that's no joke.
Yeah. But certainly from that first half, I was enjoying that they were doing sort of what I thought they would do, which is against this sort of outside shooter defence, keep it tight and look for those inside runners. And there were a few times they had 4 or 5 players just like inside the first receiver off first ball, and the first receiver just being a forward and looking to crash it up and looking to get those inside balls going.
It seemed to catch them napping a little in terms of, I'm sure a lot of the Lions prep was not for that. And,
Indeed,
and they were definitely a little bit taken aback by it and a little bit shell shocked, especially in the first half. It just didn't see a lot of really good pioneering multi-phase attack, and it looked like the game was drifting away from them before a lovely bit of counter-attacking play off. Well, it wasn't necessarily a bad kick, but it was a little bit of an unlucky bounce that Watson was able to gather.
From an All Blacks perspective, they were definitely caught napping by that. I mean, the kick chase wasn't what it should have been. Obviously, Reid came flying out of the line himself and missed his hit, which isn't good from him.
Nope.
And then Cruden got
burned on the outside.
He got burned, but he really needed help. I mean, I saw that the rest of the chase outside, if you look at a wide shot of that from Liam Williams, he's running sideways for a while, and the defenders on Cruden's outside drifted along with the Lions' attack, and really left that space inside if Cruden wasn't going to get to him, which he didn't. From the Lions' perspective, great to see heads up rugby from quality players.
I think that back three is world class. This is one of the things I was thinking during the week. That back three that he picked with Liam Williams as the fulcrum and fullback is a match for anyone in terms of just heads up play and instinctive attacking play, and not unsound defensively either. They're all kind of smart players, and they're all big physical players as well. What disappoints me in terms of the Lions' game plan is that our multi-phase seems to have no way of bringing them into the game, apart from occasionally, like there was one move with Watson coming in on the inside again where he's going into traffic.
Usually on just first phase, Gatton would like to use his wingers, but other than that, it's really about fracturing the defence. So it's going to use Jonathan Davis a lot as the link man, but only when the defence is truly fractured.
He's also the only link man available when you pick Tio at 12. So they just know, it makes the All Blacks' jobs as defenders much easier when you know that if Tio gets the ball, it's not going any further.
Well, it speaks to Gatland's mindset. Gatland is about, in terms of how he wants to attack the game, he wants to, and they did it early doors for that daily try. That would have been a really classic Gatland's game plan going well try had it been scored. That early break where it was just like smash, we're over the game line. Then we move it wide, it gets into Jonathan Davis's hand and he's prevented with a one-on-one with the forward who he beats, and then eventually we get it wide to the winger who gets in the corner. That's sort of what Gatland's idea is. Obviously it just does run out of ideas, and it does start to work. And the other thing that it does is it really puts players into a mindset whereby they're thinking, we'll do this, it's smash, and then we're going to go wide. And then what it's not doing, what it's sort of countering, is our sort of mindset of you want players to be thinking about where the space is. And instead of thinking about that, they're thinking we get over the game line, and then we go wide. Instead of isolating where the space is. And there's been a lot of talk about how Owen Farrell underperformed and how he has been underperforming, but it really...
I don't know.
His mindset that he's sort of cultivated over the last couple of years is really countered by Gatland's tactics and attitude, and it doesn't suit him as a game plan.
Yeah, and the players outside him are like just very not similar to what he's used to as well.
But he's just shifting it a lot of the time. He's not really being allowed to think the way he would like to think. And
same with Murray. Murray was not very prone to attacking around fringes at all, getting the ball in his hand in the first half. That was why there was such a marked difference when Webb came on, just because he is that type of player, and there was some lazy defending around those fringes from the All Blacks by the end. But then they'd already won it at that stage. Yeah, no, I definitely think you're right on saying that. There seems to be a collective, like, not dumbing down, but it's similar to the Patriots idea, the thing of all like having do your job written on their Super Bowl rings kind of thing, where like each player does their job, the systems work, and if we win physically, we dominate and we win. And that seems to be, yes, it can be true, and you can dominate and win.
It's certainly true in the NFL,
whenever
your blockers going, no, I don't.
Yeah, indeed. Different game though. Exactly. That's like
it's not true of rugby.
It's not true of rugby, but a lot of coaches seem to think that it is, and Warren Gatland is one of them. And I just think this whole selection, from start to finish, is he's picking a team to not beat the All Blacks. And Tio is the main one that's vexing me, even though I've heard many things saying he didn't have too bad of a game. He kept Sonny Bill Williams out of the game in the All Blacks test. And then the other argument I was hearing is that as soon as Sexton and Farrell came on, granted that did not work, and I knew that wouldn't work. Like haven't tried and tested it at all. And it's like you're going to bring it off the bench with 20 minutes to go when you're miles down against the All Blacks in New Zealand. No,
but desperation.
Yeah, but
they should have been cultivating that as a partnership for a long time, and then figuring out what works and doesn't work defensively, because obviously there will be defensive.
There will be defensive frailties, but this is going back to like they're talking about. You're picking Ben Teo opposite Sonny Bill Williams speaks to a mindset of containment, and it's like we're going to stop New Zealand from playing their game by picking these players, which is, as we've always said on this podcast, wrong. You need to go out there and score a load of tries and back yourself to score more than New Zealand to win. Because we did contain them for large periods of that game. They scored 30 points.
Yeah, when Ireland beat New Zealand, they scored 29 points. Like this is what we said from the very start. Is that the All Blacks are going to score tries. They're going to find tries. They're going to find chaos balls. Or they're going to find multi-faces that work for them. Because they've got a lot of players thinking about where the space is. So you've got to figure out how to score tries against them.
And one of our real chances of doing that is with that back three. That back three is a try scoring. Like they can create these opportunities, but they're not being played into the game by the tactics that are being utilised.
In terms of selection, that's an area that he definitely got right. The back three.
Yeah.
I was very pleasantly surprised.
Very pleasant.
No Halfpenny, no North.
I was expecting both of that.
You need players who can score off chaos balls. It's one of the things, like the biggest strength of teams is first of all to have loads of different ways of scoring, and then to have players intelligent enough to adapt to circumstance and choose the right ways for the match that you're facing. And the Lions do have some ways of scoring. They had the maul, which the All Blacks did an excellent job of shutting down. So they had those penalty generators in the midfield, which again didn't generate much penalties at the breakdown. And then they have the maul from those penalties, which when they did get opportunities with, didn't really happen for them. All Blacks were really great at sacking the ball before it's set. That was the method of defence that they chose, and it worked excellently. But then you have your chaos players, your players who will score off kick returns, score off broken ball, and they got a good try out of that, and it was definitely the right selection in terms of getting those guys into the game. The multi-phase again is lacking nothing, so it's lacking everything. It's completely. You're seeing it even in the midweek games. It's too deliberate. It's too slow.
It's
defendable.
This is my thing.
It's power, and it's just not.
There's
working.
no impetus in the Lions teams, but it tends to be seep through Northern Hemisphere international teams very, very much so, and particularly in Britain and Ireland, I suppose. It's this conservative, just being content with recycling, the notion of going to safety by going to deck. And this is where the same thing is like carries stats come up, which Sky are harping on. Like this has been a trend for the last year. The carries are the main stat they put up. I hate it. I think it's utterly meaningless. And another way of phrasing carry is dying with the ball. you're just killing the
Yeah,
opportunity. There's no
definitely
impetus.
a full stat. Some
Yeah,
people say a player has like 15 carries, he carried more than the rest of the team.
like,
It's often meaningless, especially when you're talking about a fluent open game.
yeah,
Because if you look at another way to look at that, is exactly as you're the guy who didn't shift it. Because in that move where you get the carry stat, maybe 4 or 5 players touched it, and maybe it would have been the 6th pass.
that was the try. Yeah, that is it. The killer pass. That was the point I'm going to make. There's no impetus from Northern Hemisphere teams, with the notable exception of Scotland. That is how Scotland are playing. This is the renaissance of Scotland is born from this philosophy, is looking for the killer pass. It's actually seeking. Farrell. This is it. Farrell is good at it as well. Sarri's more so than England, I would say. Just this. There's an awful sense of like going back to your pack, going back in where there's cover, where you know you're going to recycle, and that's like. It's not necessarily true, and each breakdown is a contest, as they found out abruptly on the weekend. Like Sam Kane was immense. There was a lot, and Sean O'Brien was very good. He was a jackal. There was a good battle going on all day at the breakdown, but it is a battle. Like it means every time you go to deck, it slows it up obviously, but it gives an opportunity for the opposition to pounce. And this is like another. I've made the point about the difference in outlook through the commentary as well. I was kind of looking around for New Zealand commentary of the first test for a while, but then I did find a 5-minute video of it, and I was delighted to find that they did include the chance that was a break just after half time, squandered by Ben Teo, and there was a lovely moment, like the Sky Guys goal cuts back inside, like Teo cuts back inside. That's the Sky Guys take on it, whereas when the New Zealanders are going like, oh, it's on out here. Oh, there was a collective groan in the commentary box, and then Justin Marshall going, you needed to shift that, Teo. And it's just, the reason he didn't shift it is that it was half the pitch, not even half the pitch, I don't know, maybe a 30-yard pass off his left hand that needed to be done at pace. And he can't do that. He doesn't have the skill set.
Well, I don't know whether he does. I've never seen him throw it. I mean,
this is it.
I've been watching Teo for a long time. It's always the same shape. It's the shape to give, dummy, step in. Yeah. Like he gain ground with it because he's
a big athlete. Yeah. But
it's
and the other one is the big hit on Sonny Bill Williams that he was getting praised for. And it's like, boys, what was the result of that? That was a penalty in their own a free exit and an attacking platform for the All Blacks.
It is true that he probably did a good job shutting down Sonny Bill, but also it's like it really does represent a misunderstanding of the game. I heard some Kiwis saying that, like, oh, Sonny Bill didn't get into the game until Teo went off, but that's because they weren't bringing him. That
was my main point. They were going inside.
They weren't inside, and then when they saw the shift in the defensive mindset, they went outside, and that's what the All Blacks will do in both attack and defense. And this is why I say you need lots of the defensive job of shutting them down is such a task. They really are a great team. We can't stress enough that the Lions were toe-to-toe with them for a while. It's a good team of good international standard players, but in attack it needs to be more. So they have those chaos balls, which is great when you have ball in space, and to be able to score off that is actually better than I expected, because I expected Halfpenny and North and these guys who really can't do it. But it's great that they brought in all the players who can, so there's a good healthy back three there that can score off chaos. The other thing is where they scored against the Hurricanes is off high balls. And we can talk about that from an All Blacks perspective, is they have an interesting selection dilemma at the back three.
They still do,
at least 3 of the top contenders for the Hurricanes match, which presumably puts them out of contention. Jordy Barrett, Naeem Scudder and Sevilla.
Jordy Barrett in particular had a wonderful game.
But obviously with Rieko Ioane, with possibly Daragh at fullback, Daragh has gotten really, really good.
He's matured as well.
And presumably Wesaki Nolo on the other wing. But you are going to have a spacious, opportunity there from the Lions' perspective to get those high kicks up, to get the contestables up, and maybe catch a chaos ball.
They did get some dividends off the kicks. It was kind of a cruel, crushing irony that the Ioane's last try came from a botched gather on Liam Williams' part, like us having to deal with the box kicks for once. But it's
the most important point really is in terms of the personnel that are there. They need to be the guys who are smart, who are great readers of the game, like the All Blacks are. Because the All Blacks, they will find the tries in those spaces because they're all thinking about where the space is. They're all thinking about who's in a better position. And it's often like it's not even about like everyone's talking about communication. I suppose with a Lions squad you do need a lot of communication because it's such a new, fresh thing. But with the All Blacks there isn't even that much. Like you don't need Aaron Smith screaming at Reid, pop it up, I'm here, because Reid knows if I get it up he's going to be there, and he knows whether he can, and if I can't I'm going to try and I'm going to get it up.
There's a collective deliberate knowledge, or not even knowledge, just a kind of a mantra of just keeping the ball alive, not dying in possession.
They
don't like dying in possession.
As a team, they're at the peak of their powers. They really are. Like, they've been cultivating this culture of excellence for so long.
And now the mix between youth and leadership in there is so perfect.
It's like if this will isolate some of you, I'm sure, but in the GAA watching Dublin, like they've just risen above the competition so much because they're thinking about the game on a new level, and then they're all this talent coming through from underneath them, and that's your competition. You know,
you get to be honest, you get more from an AVB game than most of the tests.
But you're going to struggle to make the All Blacks team if you're not right at the peak of your powers. But at the same time, there isn't that petrification about making mistakes. There isn't that like oppressive, if you screw up, you're out kind of nonsense. Like
that happens a lot in the Northern Hemisphere as well. That's misguided, and I hope that it will be removed, but it's still very prevalent.
It makes me wonder about what exactly they're doing in post game, because obviously you can't know. But I like I like what they're putting together, and I like the fact that like they look so free for such a tough environment. It being in that squad and being performing at that level, they seem so free to think. And that must be like what they're doing, what they're telling the players to do is look for the space, always look for the space.
But it's the same true of obviously a lesser standard, but like the South Sea Island teams are very much the same. They'll be getting shellacked 40-0, and then a try is on, and you'll see smiling faces running into space, even though they're being hammered because they're finding space. They're playing rugby, and you don't want to have like an exciting, talented winger who's really good and nippy and a really good stepper. You don't want to try and rationalize his experimentation out of the game, or just put the fear of God into him that if he screws up, he's never going to get a Test jersey again, or a cap again. Like, and there that seems to be a genuine fear, a paralysing fear a lot of times for a lot of players in. Like certainly in England teams gone by, I've seen players do that. I've seen it in Ireland teams too. And it's often a marked disconnect. It was something actually that Lancaster said this season about Leinster, which was very reassuring, because we had been drifting in that direction in the kind of 2-year wilderness with Tio in their centre as well. We know him very well, but Lancaster coming in has been a godsend really, and he was just making the point like it isn't Ireland, this isn't the Irish team, this is Leinster, and the Leinster fans have come to expect there's been a tradition here of running rugby, of experimental rugby, of players expressing themselves on the pitch. This is the game they do, this is their art. So do try things, and when they don't come off, we will point it out, and we'll maybe see, we'll try and pick the learnings from it, but we're not going to dwell on it too long. We're not going to blame anyone for it. And it seems very true in the All Black setup as well, and that's why you see those crazy, like that Kieran Reid offload out of that scrum was nothing short of spectacular, especially in slow-mo, and the little look on Aaron Smith's face as the ball just popped up out of nowhere, and he's like, ooh, try time. Like,
but it's very much refreshing. They understand where the space is, they understand how to attack it, and really, from an Ireland perspective, you look back on how they beat them in that game, there was an element of physical overpowering.
There was an element of a lack of Retallick.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's true. I mean, seriously, like, beating All Blacks without Retallick is like a much easier task. The man is excellent. He was my man of the match in that game.
Oh, he was freakish, he was
revolutionised the second row position, and his strength.
I told you I did nick a line out on him on our line out.
Yeah, I know the line out was certain. I was going to just talk about like the areas that the All Blacks struggle, and like if you want to look at a side that how you do get the better of them, you got to look at where they are resourcing as well, because they do vary their play a lot. In both attack and defence, they really do tailor their game to who they're playing at times. So something you will see the shooter defence at times, but sometimes there is space out wide, and sometimes like a lot of what they're doing depends on where they put Kieran Reid. Kieran Reid tends to be at the heart and centre of everything they're doing. So if they are going to attack you in those wide channels, that's where Kieran Reid's going to be again in defence as well. If they think
in defence, it's a good call to watch Reid.
Yeah, exactly. But Reid might be looking if they're playing Wallabies, for example. Reid is going to be out wider and looking for those turnovers and looking to have to make those clutch tackles. He's a real leader in that team, as opposed to Sam Kane, who's just like break down.
He has his job.
Break down. Kieran Reid is very much always in a set spot. He was in the tight this week, really around those fringes.
It was thematic of their performance. It caught the Lions napping in terms of you think the Champagne Rugby's coming out right? You think by picking Rico Ioane we're going to be flinging the ball to him? No, we're going to bully you first.
Yeah, it was an interesting selection, Rico Ioane, because again, like, it does probably offer a frailty under a high ball,
which they catered for so well by having him swap around though.
But even Ben Smith,
Ben Smith was struggling at first, which is why it was struggling
because he was put in like a really difficult spot by having time and time again to catch perfect box kicks with huge pressure on him, and he did an okay job.
Drop 1 or 2. It was unfortunate to see him go off, and this was part of your preview before the match was reckoning on just getting the ball into Smith's hand after the bullying in the tight took place and seeing what could happen in those wider channels. Didn't quite get to see that, although there's obviously great cover there, and Cruden did play pretty well when he came on. I thought 1 or 2 little escape. There was just a little bit of disconnect, which is always what happens.
20 minutes. The 20 minutes that the Lions dominated was really the 20 minutes after
Crotty and Crotty is a loss, and it's
Crotty was playing well, but
he was playing
the
well.
thing about Leonard Brown is he can really slot in there.
Yeah, exactly. He's such
the bigger disruption was moving Barrett to fullback and changing that dynamic quite a bit. Which I don't think they should do this week. I don't think they should start Barrett at 15. I think you do lose a lot from Bowden when he's not in there.
Definitely, he's not.
I think it needs to be Naholo and then Daragh
at fullback. Yeah, Daragh is a better fullback.
The other thing is Naholo's had joy against the Lions so far this tour, and that surface in Wellington is really nice. It's a really nice. I was watching again with the Hurricanes playing it. I don't like the stadium, the Cake Tin. It's a bit of an obnoxious thing. But
the playing surface itself,
really nice. So
again,
if the kicks are errant, if Gatland drops Farrell for Sexton and Sexton has a poor game, which I suspect will happen.
Do you reckon he's going to drop Farrell?
I would say so. Yeah, Gatland's always liked Sexton, and he likes him in a Gatland team, and Farrell didn't play well, and he's also not going to change anything else about that back line. So I'd say just to say he's changing something.
He's going to drop Peter O'Mahony.
He'll drop O'Mahony forward, and he'll probably pick Ian Anderson and Itoji in the centre.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show. But to be honest, my back row to face the All Blacks of the lads over there would probably be Peter O'Mahony at 6, Tipperick at 7, Sean O'Brien at 8. I think that's probably the best combination you could have of the ones there. Because Tipperick's a better footballer, and even the counter-attacking try that they scored. Who were they playing? The Jack Noel try. Who were they playing?
But they were beaten up at the breakdown. And I know Falta doesn't do his due work at the breakdown.
He does not, and he went. And it was actually something pointed out in Sky. Who was it who pointed it out afterwards? I can't recall. But pointing out just how painfully quiet Falta was, especially in the second half.
He did top the tackles, but you got to do your effort at the breakdown.
You're number 8, you should be making your tackles.
As a unit. It doesn't matter what they do in that breakdown, and Sean O'Brien is possibly the best breakdown player on tour, so shifting him to 8 might lose something there. The problem, a lot of the problem is they don't really have a top level 8 with them. Billy Van Pol was such a huge loss, and there really isn't that depth in that position. I like Heaslip at 8, and I know all the Northern Hemisphere teams, but he's obviously injured as well and didn't get a chance to go. So without Billy, really that attacking and the intelligent keep the ball alive type around the fringes play can only really come from Billy. I don't really see it anywhere else.
And now at this
juncture we have the Northern Hemisphere who stands out, but he's obviously
he's not viable at all. No, he could be playing for the All Blacks. But that's very true. We have a few different options at 8. If you pick Faletau, he's going to linger on the wing, and
you can pick Stander to a Stander.
I wouldn't mind seeing them pick Stander and drop Teo. Have Stander slot in at first receiver and do the Teo role.
It would be the same.
It would be much the same, but
except he wouldn't have the gas on defence.
No, but pick a different. Pick him at 8 and have him slot in those roles there anyway. If just don't put him in the lineouts at all. Just have him off first receiver. That's
one of the big problems is with what's going on in 12, because when you look at ways to score tries, you do.
It's so limited. It's straight away. It's so limited, and it's even when he's not doing something objectively bad, or he makes a carry that's pretty strong, he actually breaks the tackle and goes forward. Even in doing that, it's the approach to play that is just wrong. It's the same that Wales have been doing it for years, and they've never managed to beat the All Blacks, or a prop when they did manage in the last year to beat the Springboks, but they'd be fools to consider that the accomplishment. It was the years and years before when Warren Gatland did get them as far as the semi-final of the World Cup. To his credit, with this pioneering, caught everyone off guard, caught us off guard. In that World Cup as well.
To be fair, that was the achievement.
They
won against Ireland, against an Ireland team that had beaten Australia. They wouldn't have beaten Australia had Australia beaten Ireland. They managed. We really got to make the figurings out of a lot of what Ireland were doing.
And he still has that. Yeah, we still are one of the more susceptible teams to a Gatland style.
Whenever Ireland get excited about their power game around the fringes,
Wales are the ones to shut them down.
Sean Edwards' defence can humble us, and happened again this year. Again, a pleasure to see Ireland hopefully moving the ball a bit more, and hopefully we'll see more of that going forward.
Here's hoping, but to think that is and as well, they have 2 Six Nations to back it up. But again, those were 2 Six Nations where Ireland were shocking, and England were shocking, and France were not very good either. Like they were non-really choosers, and they never managed to get that Southern Hemisphere scalp while they were in that prime. So the notion that even though it's not Jamie Roberts, it's Tio now, but it's basically the same. The notion that game plan is the one to use to go down to New Zealand and beat them in a Test series is so false and so wrong.
Well, you need to be scoring tries, and again, a lot of that comes again with pace on the ball. It's true of every team. Usually, when you get a bit of breaking ball, you get a bit of space. You got to put pace on it, and you got to find the space, and that's like where it painfully lacks from the Lions this year. I've seen it time and time again. They've been pretty confident in making the line break, and then make the line break, and then the first thing that will happen. And again, we saw it from O'Mahony in the build-up to that Tio Butcher. O'Mahony butchered it first. Yeah. So we had that great break that came off turnover ball, which again, good instincts. And I really did like Jonathan Davis in attack.
Yeah, I think with the ball in his hand, he's improved this season as well. He was always good with it, and this season especially, he's been very, very good.
His vision is really good, and he's almost become hard to drop. Although personally, I would drop him, but not for the reasons that you think. Like I would have had him drop from the start because I would have needed, and we'll touch on why in a sec. But watching him exploit that space on the outside was really lovely. They did a great move, and then the first thing that happened is they didn't want to move quickly.
Mahoney went left.
Yes, just went in scrum half and popped it left to Watson, not thinking about where the space is. What you really do need is you need two things: it's quick ball and an appreciation of where the space is. Yeah. And O'Mahony again lacking in that department. But we've seen that. Like that's an example of what we've seen all tour. Yeah. Good line break and it stops, and then the very first phase off the line out, it's either too slow or it's picked up and it's a crash ball into contact, and then it's slow, and granted it's slow inside the 22, but the try that was there is not there. Now you have to make another one, and time and time again they failed at that too. Yeah. So the Lions really need to take a lesson from the All Blacks in terms of how to finish off those moves. And again,
just need to have an urgency with it,
because I think from the Hurricanes this week, like there were times when they were in the 22 and it was slow and it was ponderous, and they saw that the Lions were resourcing out wide, and so they kept going around fringes, and then there's that other time when the Lions really did pile around the fringes and they just shifted out to Daragh, who shot it wide instantly. And it's that kind of vision and understanding that the Lions are painfully lacking, that a lot of Northern Hemisphere teams haven't been lacking. Exeter again, Scarlets again,
Leinster again, Claremont
again, very much Saracens in terms of how they look at the game. There's a huge appreciation, even though it's slower, even though it's more measured, about finding that space, and they have found them with little chip kicks at times. So yeah, very frustrating Lions with the ball in hand. They were always going to concede around 30 in my opinion, so they really did need to score more. And they didn't
never looked like it. Never threatened doing it, apart from one absolutely fabulous try, and it was a great try. And it's lovely that there is that highlight from the tour. And to be honest, even more so than 05, there seems to be a good dynamic within the group as well, which I do appreciate. Like the players do seem to be enjoying themselves, and culturally they're getting on well. And New Zealand seems to have risen to the occasion. There seems to be quite an unprecedented level of enthusiasm over there, which is great to see, and it's great for rugby. It is a festival of rugby after all, more so than even a Test series. I suppose the Lions tour to New Zealand is this is rugby type advertisement for the world. So that is great, but it is also just us being. I was we've mentioned it all throughout the tour, going our struggles with cheering for this Lions team when they're just not playing the kind of game we want to, and especially when the opposition, all the midweek teams they're facing, all the Super Rugby teams they're facing, and the All Blacks themselves are playing just the purest form of rugby and scoring a load of points, going out there with a mind to scoring more tries than the opposition, not picking some similar body types opposite the one so you can defend them, not thinking about coyly getting into their heads or any of this nonsense as well. All the nonsense at the press conferences as well. It's just everything about it is so negative. We do feel like the bad guys in the piece.
About Gatland, there's a part of me that wants to go into him, and there's a part of me that just doesn't want to talk about it, because the way he's trying to shape the narrative really irritates me. He did it in the week ahead.
I don't like it's bullshit trying to shape the narrative anyway. What are you doing? It's not your job to be talking about what the media should be focusing on.
That's the thing. It's but this is the beauty of New Zealand rugby, is that it really is an antidote to all of that, because you're not going to get into their heads, because they're just going to play rugby. And that's the thing. It's you and Steve Hansen could spend the week trading jives, and the idea that it has any effect is laughable.
It is. But he seems to have that. He's one of the first proponents of it in Northern. He added that dimension to the Six Nations.
In advance of the 2009 Grand Slam shootout with Ireland and Wales. He did like was
started
seeds,
talking about
Ireland,
animosity
Ireland
and
the
stuff.
Welsh players never got along, which of course was like debunked in that Lions tour that just came after it. But like he's never really lost that bug. But like in advance of that game, he was giving out about blocking off the kicks, and he was giving out about like he was trying to shake.
Now he's giving out about Murray.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, like for that great Lions tie, there was a nice Ben Teal block.
There was,
which I as a very lenient person who doesn't like to see obstruction pinned, I wouldn't have pinned him for that. But there's no question that had it been the other way around,
Gatlin would have been calling foul.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like a lot of Lions fans I saw giving out about the ref, Jaco Piper saying all this, that, and the other. I really do think that if you are subscribed to that belief set, that like you need to open your eyes a bit, because like there were some certainly decisions that could have been given, and like that kind of hit wasn't legal, but
there's also it's a number 9 is going to get targeted for one, but it is your
NFL. And again, like if you look closely enough, there's a holding call in every play. So every childish YouTuber who puts together a little montage of all the decisions
with arrows and graphics and it's like
all the decisions that could have been given to the Lions, like after a game, after like their team loses, like it's like you're not objectively analysing the game at all. And again, there's always one that could be given the other way. There's always one that could be given the other way.
100%, and it tends to balance out. And
like the Lions lost the game because when they had that period of dominance, they didn't fire the tries
score.
They needed to. They needed to score 2 tries to reach it. That's what Ireland did. If you'll recall, Ireland had that 20-minute period of dominance towards the end of the first half and at the start of the second half, and they wrapped up the points. They were ahead by 25 points.
It was the same. It was the same thing. It was the same point we were making with
the opportunities when they give them to you.
Yeah, it was the same thing we were talking about with Saracens v Munster. When Donegal O'Callaghan when it was half time and it was 9-0 or like something very tight.
9-6.
9-6 and Donegal going like, I think this is good. This is the kind of game it'll be. It'll be 3 points and 3 points and 3 points. And it's like we were talking about. It doesn't understand that Sarries are a cut above and tries will be found and scored, and it won't be by you. So the only hope you have of winning this game was to score one when you were up, was to have that urgency that was it. And the same thing, they didn't have the urgency in the first half when they were all pumped up on adrenaline and they were actually being physically dominant over a very strong Sarries pack. They were getting those inroads, but they did not take the tries, and they were too satisfied to take the 3 points. It's the same thing with the halfpenny selection as well, justifying halfpenny selection by going like, well, you need those 3-pointers. It's like, no, you need tries. As well, we do have place kickers there besides halfpenny. You don't need the world's best place kicker on the pitch when we have a Lions tour of many quality place kickers from both 9 and 10 and Elliot Dale. Many people can take the kicks, but what we should be doing is going like, we're in 22 now. We're obviously we're 3 points up early doors or something. We need to be 10 points up. Go for a try.
And that's what I'm saying. Is like, be wary, especially like, because I always thought one of the possibilities going into this tour was one of the shapes to a game that you can see against the All Blacks is like they dominate a first half and lead by 10 points. As like, be really wary about the fawning that goes on at half time, because the chances are it probably needed to be 20.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it. That's a lack of understanding. It was the same. It was the same in the Munster game. It's going like, oh, it's only the first half. It's grand. Whereas you're going like, no, it's not only the first half, it's one of the maybe 3 or 4 chances you'll have to score a try in this game. You need to take it.
That's the difference. Like, the All Blacks are so ruthless, they're so clinical, they have such an understanding of where the try is when it emerges. And there are always going to be those moments in the game where the try chance emerges, and those are the ones the All Blacks take. And you need to be right at their level taking those chances 100%. As well. I do maintain, like, again, like, one of the narratives coming out of the game is just how good the All Blacks are, which we always knew, and it was always going to be a difficult task for any squad of players. I do maintain there's a Lions side that could have really challenged them, and I do appreciate, especially from Andy Farrell's perspective, that they have given them things to think about, especially in defence. Like, I really liked, just to move on to the Hurricanes game, finished 31-all. I really liked, it was a great game. I really liked that the Hurricanes seem to have learned from both their mistakes against the Crusaders and the other Super Rugby's mistakes against the Lions. There were less of those chip kicks. It was more about attacking those inside channels. When the outside shooter came up,
they went inside.
It was very much about going inside.
And the 2 centres as well stuck their hands up.
This is what I'm thinking, especially for Lamape and Asso's try. Well, Lamape's try in the corner when both off bigger. But there was a lovely touch from Asso to an inside runner, which might not have come earlier in the season, especially not when they were under pressure. I mean, those touches came against weak South African defence.
Have we seen many strike plays from the Lions?
Occasionally, no, they are lining them up. I mean, there's like there was one from Watson.
That's the one I'm thinking of. The back on the inside.
They always have one or two of them with the wingers coming off the wings.
Just variants on that.
Well, most of their lineups have been Mauls, of course, as well, which has worked for them. But no, actually, sorry, before we go to the Hurricanes, there was a point I wanted to make about Jonathan Davis. Just came into
yes, we need to clarify that because he has been sensei. I can't stress enough, in both Lions colours and Scarlet's colours this year, he has improved. Marked improvement.
He's been really good.
He's really,
but there's just
good.
It's sort of
defensive
my assertion that the most intelligent readers of the game aren't on the pitch.
Henshaw is our best centre defender.
Henshaw has been. Unfortunately, he's gone now. I really do think he was shafted by being stuck into that midweek team and overperforming his entire team and not getting the credit for it. Didn't get a chance.
This is it. They're too busy focusing on carry stats to notice just how often he's either making the hit, or if he's not, he's right in the passing lane. So just as your man tries to shift the ball, all he sees is Henshaw.
Andy Farrell's defensive system, which has often been like blitz, but also has that shooter element to it, which again we're looking forward to.
It's another thing that encourages experiment. Like, even you can experiment with ball in hand and trust your players to be finding space, but there's also a bit of reading the game as a defender and being an intelligent defender and knowing
the 13 plays such a role in a shooter defense. It's so important if he's going to be the guy who's leading that line.
And if you want to be very critical, he did play that role for the try they scored off.
This is the point I was going to make. It was like the try, the first Rico Ioane try that came off this scrum, which was really great, like a chaos play, because they were obviously
fractured the line with a big scrum.
Do you want to talk about how a great Wyatt Crockett was off the bench? Another area that the Lions were just so sure they were going to dominate, that I was never so sure. And we've touched on in the past why we think Tylee Furlong really shouldn't have been playing. Is like his technique isn't what it should be in the scrum.
And same with Mako, the two of them.
Yeah, the two of them are very hot and cold because they're so strong that they can bully a player, but their technique isn't what it should be. So a really strong set scrum can catch them off guard in a big way. So what was I going to say? But so as soon as that ball came out, they had the All Blacks noticed there was space, and the guy who noticed it was Israel Daggs, who was coming on this great sweeping line from deep, having been defending, I think, at fullback. He came sweeping into the ball, and the play that was going to be played was Krug was going to find him with the pass, and Jonathan Davis did, to his credit, which not a lot of good 13s would do, isolate who's the danger man in this attack, who's going to turn this into a try. And it was Dag running that ghosting line on the outside, and he shot out to get him, and Dag just with a swerve to the right got outside of Davis, and from there on it was try, definitely. But a really great defender. And it's a big question to ask, but it's like that famous moment where Joe Schmidt was talking to his players after Darcy threw a terrible pass and O'Driscoll knocked it on. Everyone talks about this for the Joe Schmidt reviews, match reviews on a Monday, and instead of tearing new one at Darcy, he made the point to O'Driscoll. It's like, well, if you're the best 13 in the world, you catch that ball. Really challenge him to be elite, and that's the thing about Jonathan Davis. If you are the Lions 13, the best 13 in Britain and Ireland, you make that hit. And if you make that hit,
there's no
even get noticed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people are just like, oh well, it's another big hit from the Lions defence. But if you don't, there's a try. Some of those big defensive plays get missed, but they all have to be made.
Yeah, and it's only when they're not that they stick out and But I've always thought that about him. To be honest, it's permeated that it's similar enough to the Tide criticism, where if you're so big and strong, you don't necessarily have to work on the nuances of technique because you can compensate by being big and strong. Certainly, I think North lacks a bit, and Cuthbert lacks a bit in defence.
Sean Edwards in defence, he really has cultivated that abrasive defence, and cultivated the technique of the chop tackle. But just in terms of teaching his players to read the game, he doesn't do that. It's all about adrenaline. It's all about energy. It's all about getting people's faces, and it's sort of reflected in who the man is.
And North slotted in at 12 as well.
It has helped this Welsh defence, and it has hindered this Welsh defence's growth. This whole Welsh backline, none of them are elite defenders, and they all probably could be. So this is it.
They're better players, and that this the other false narrative that is put out there. But it's gone with Gatland's pioneering visionary tactics. He's managed to coach a group of not so talented players to be one of the best in the world, whereas I just see these guys come out of their schoolboy things playing great rugby. They're all wonderful players.
There's not a lot of learning though.
There's just in the Welsh jersey growth. There's not. This is it. There is in their clubs, and then there's a disconnect with what Scarlet. It's the same as what Owen Farrell's playing poorly, or he's just not used to playing this regimented style of thing. Same is true of the Welsh regions don't play the same way the Welsh national team plays. It's the same. It's a very similar criticism that can be levelled at Ireland, and it's very true of all the Northern Hemisphere teams. Really, there's just a little bit of a disconnect, and there seems to be a bit too much pressure and a bit too much weight on keeping errors down rather than experimenting and finding killer plays. And it gets punished down in places in the Southern Hemisphere when you're playing New Zealand in New Zealand, and they're so buoyed by the fact that it's a Lions tour. It's the first time in 12 years that anyone's been playing, and the only chance that this great team will have to face the Lions. Like, they need no more motivation, and they're going to score tries against them.
Yeah.
So the Lions have to be going there to try and play a load of rugby and score a load of tries to try and win.
There is no question that in a general sense the Lions defence, the Andy Farrell defence, I definitely like the fact that the Andy Farrell defence has really stifled some of those Super Rugby attacks that looked so good.
Yeah.
And the Crusaders obviously managed to some extent as well. But I like that the Hurricanes ended up having to think differently about the game than how they have been thinking, and they played a very different sort of attacking game and still scored some great tries, still scored 4 tries against the Lions.
It is a criticism that's blown up. It's a criticism that comes from uneducated fans on the Northern Hemisphere, that when they watch Super Rugby and they see these great tries, they're going like, oh, it's terrible defending, rather than going like great attacking play. Yeah. But sometimes there is a tendency to there are a lot of teams who are guilty of it.
Like South African teams.
Yeah, there's just like very passive off the line and just kind of heads up defending with like no real system in place at all, and they can be very broken by teams like the Crusaders.
The Crusaders broke the back of much of New Zealand rugby attacking. It was actually the Chiefs were the only team to really exploit them. Damien McKenzie and Aaron Gruden doing a good job there. They managed to score 3 tries against them, but the Crusaders still won.
Crusaders still won, this is it.
So they were definitely, but even the Crusaders, who had scored lovely with those attacks, really came into a defence as strong as their own and failed to exploit it. So their attacking dynamism in that backline isn't what the attacking dynamism of, say, the Hurricanes or the Chiefs is. So definitely in that department, they've given them something to think about. In attack, they've given them nothing to think about. Like it really has been stale. The only pale imitations of what they're presented with on a week by week basis in terms of how to stop this and how to stop that. The only real thing is power, which they can come across against a good South African team anyway, a powerful type 5 that overpowers them. But certainly no invention, no real test in terms of their understanding of the game. Nothing new and interesting about the way they're attacking, and that's a shame. Would have liked to see more offloads around the fringes. Would have liked to see a Billy Vunipola style player in there.
That could have been a difference, and
it's a huge shame. It's a huge shame that we didn't get to see that.
It is unfortunate. And that is all it is, and it has left that lacking. There is a big Billy Vunipola shaped hole in that back row.
Massive Billy Vunipola shaped hole. That's an element of the attack that Ireland have gotten a lot of purchase with. Ireland test the All Blacks every time they play them these days, and one of the areas that they have been doing is just constantly testing that resourcing area around the rucks. And like what New Zealand were doing to the Lions this week is little inside runners, but little constantly packing out that area around the fringes. So if you just have a man for man defence around there, a couple of offloads can get you. And there really haven't been enough offloads by the forwards around those areas with people coming from deep.
Well, that tethers into that article that we found, that you found even. What was it? The difference. Scotty Stevenson. The difference between the All Blacks and the Lions in one word, and spoiler alert, but the word is trust. Which we were talking about that, and just in terms of how set this New Zealand team are the evolution has been going on for so long. That now they're just very comfortable with where they're at, even with the likes of McCaw and Carter retiring. Bowden's been playing for years there, Cruden's been playing for years there. There are a perfect combination of leaders to people who've been there for quite a while, maybe aren't quite the same calibre of leaders as, say, like a Kieran Reid. They also have a few talisman players like Brodie Retallick. They just have a perfect balance, it seems, and then loads of depth behind it. And that leaves that they have an ethos there that's established, and there's a trust in that. There's no way the Lions number 8, even if it is Billy Vunipola, there's no way he's going to be getting the ball out of that scrum the same way Kieran Reid is, because there's not that trust there. It's the same. And it's when you see, it was the same for the try, the first try, Cody Taylor try, thank you. Elliot Daly being found wanting a bit defending on his wide channel, coming in and then going back out and just not trusting his inside men to make the hit. There's a lot to be said for the trust element, and the fact that is always a concern with Lions tours, though, because it is, as much as it is elite players coming together, elite players from 4 different countries, but it's still like completely disparate, and they play with different teams, they play with different ethos. It's like it's a big challenge for them to get it all together and be cohesive enough and have a mindset as to how they want to play, and just to all be trusting into it and buying into it and understanding what each other player is thinking around them and having that telepathy there. Like it is a huge demand on any kind of coach and a set of players to try and get that to any level, let alone one to go to Eden Park and beat the All Blacks.
Yeah,
which is,
and if you are going to Eden Park and trying to beat, like, I think from minute one it's been about, like, there's been an attitude of conservatism and containment in everything that's been going on.
That's.
I don't think they ever. I'm looking at Warren. I think in times gone by, he's been like an ideologue. I think now he's just reverting to type. I really don't think he ever really believed that he could do it. Okay, we're only one test in, but like we called 5 tour defeats. It's looking like it's going to be 5 tour defeats and a draw.
I was amused watching that calamity. It was unfortunate for Henderson. Actually, he had a great game up till then. Henderson, but obviously a 14-point contribution to the opposition is not enough to get your test jersey either. And he's like,
I was interested when I heard Henderson was playing well, because I hadn't been impressed with him so far in the tour.
Very well. Played very well.
Touches and good loose.
Good charge down, good carries, good offload for the try as well.
I really feel like he's the kind of player, he could go well against the All Blacks, but he could be exploited by the All Blacks.
True too. He's not bad from the bench though. He is a presence.
Defense. I feel like some of his tackling technique.
It's the same. It's the same. It is a universal truth. We've pointed out with Tyg Furlong, but it's true of everyone else who's unnaturally big, like monstrously huge, or has these attributes on their side. It's like you're not going to, like the players like Joey Carberry, who we've been impressed with, players like Nehe Milner-Scudder, people who are small specimens who don't have the attributes on their side. They're the ones who develop this amazing technique and these footwork things to be able to compensate. Whereas when you are that physically strong and a big domineering human, and you grow up in going through all the schoolboy ranks by being able to smash everyone out of the way, you come out with a deficit in terms of your technique. And that is true. There are a lot of locks who are guilty of it. Aussie locks. Aussie locks are that's a peculiar one, because like the Aussies are a great team throughout, but for the last decade, maybe not close to a decade, but like
since Nathan Sharp
retired, they have not had an elite level second row. They've had a load of players who are always found out and found wanting in the big test, in the last quarter of the big games. They're just absent, and their workload isn't enough, and it's.
And I definitely get that sense with Henderson as well. And like you look at when that tackle came in, it was after a big performance on 60.
Jonathan Joseph contributed too as well. He had a very poor game, I thought. Jonathan Joseph, he was really quiet, and it was like, I was unfortunate because I do think he's been somewhat shafted on this tour. He was brought along for reasons politic rather than anything that matched, like we know that matched his plans.
We said this.
As soon as the players were picked, and it's like Tio. No, where's Ringrose? You're going, oh, Tio, that's Jamie Roberts. It's his 12. He wants Tio there. Okay.
Like, we just
like
everyone thought it was going to be something different.
Like, no, Sexton.
They should have gone with Sexton, Farrell, and Payne or Henshaw really early doors, and like they should have kept experimenting with Sexton and Farrell in those games.
And Henshaw there helping them out defensively.
Until they understood what was needed defensively from the other centre to help them out, and where their frailties were and what was going on. But that really needed to be the combination. And this is what we're talking about: is like how to beat the All Blacks, what you need to throw at them. I really think Sean Cronin could have added something.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, why is best not in the test side either?
Like Ken Owens is there. It's like, okay, we'll make sure our line is secure, but he's not going to add anything. And you really, around the pitch, you need your players who are going to add things. Like, why Adam Wynne-Jones over Itoje? Itoje is going to add things.
Absolutely bonkers. And that was one that was painfully obvious from minute one. He was so far off the pace of the game. It was unfortunate because I do love Adam Wynne-Jones. He's very attrition. He's a great second row.
He's gone.
He's gone though. He's old. It's like
for a season.
Yeah, this season he got away with it, but to bring him to New Zealand to try and play those boys,
he didn't get away with it. Like, he was a problem with a lot of those Ospreys performances towards the end of the year. Like, and he wasn't there for Wales either, really. Yeah, it's just the work
rate that was so, like, that was his character. That was his style of play, was to be just an absolute workhorse. Torn inside for 80 minutes. He can't do that anymore. Least of all down in New Zealand, where the pace of the game is so breakneck, and it has to be. And there were a few times in the first half where he was very slow retreating to the defensive line and very slow getting up after hits. And then when Itoje came on, granted it was against more tired bodies, but just the difference in athleticism, and in power, and in just the pace of everything that he's doing.
You do need that power, but you do need that offload ability. You need people to be on each other's shoulders. But you do also need players who you can rely on. Like, you need to be able to rely on your hooker. You're not Ken Owens to be able to do what Cody Taylor did in those wide channels.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm enjoying about Ireland's play. We're gonna have to wrap this up in a second because time has us doing that. We might actually, if we can, try and release 2 within the next week, one line specific and one just wrapping up.
Yeah, because there were some other. Obviously, there were Fiji had a good win and South Africa had close off the series.
To give to those sets of Island nations because I didn't see the Fiji-Italy game. I just assumed they slogged through it unimpressively because Italy have been poor. But obviously, Italy impressive against Australia, so who knows. But as a general
Australia have been poor, so who knows where we're at, really? But it speaks to the fact that they're a good game.
I thought was a good game.
Oh, and there was Georgia as well. Georgia and Argentina. Yeah, there are loads to talk about. So we'll try and get another one up.
Good to see some of those games happening. Some of those games being more competitive than we thought they would have been a couple of years back. So awesome. I would like to see Georgia, Argentina into Tbilisi now to see if it'd be any different.
Yeah, in the rain.
Yeah. Big Style, you were right about the tempo. They've been
they're just not used to anything like that. Even though,
what was I going to say? But in terms of wrapping up, you need those players who can be sharp with their skill set, sharp with their philosophy, sharp with their understanding.
Able to capitalise on opportunities because too often it feels like we're squandering chances.
Not looking for the killer blow of game, not looking to exploit the space, which is what we've been talking about for a while,
and not willing to take the risk. And much that could be born from the trust thing, which was eloquently put by Scotty Stevenson. But there are other factors, and I think it speaks to a whole ethos of conservatism, like you said, conservatism versus free flow, and that seems to be the whole theme for the Test series. And we're going into Test 2 now. And I see no reason to think that the Lions will remedy this.
No, I think it'll be something similar.
The All Blacks will score close to 30 points again, and I don't see the Lions being able to match them.
A little bit more this week, especially if they get a dry day on a nice surface. If the Sexton kicking isn't accurate, you could see some danger. I think West Akinholo is probably the best in the world at kick return. Again, you're going to see a freer Daragh. Maybe Ioane getting into the game a lot more. They kept the wingers wide in the other game. Like, the idea was beat them up front, and then when we have those chances, you'll be there. As opposed to what I thought they would do, which is make Sevilla one of those extra forwards coming in off the wing. But you might see a bit more of that. You might see a bit more free flowing Waisaki in attack, which was very nice for the Highlanders when they had him on.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, he's pretty much impossible to handle, to be honest.
So again, I think New Zealand, probably similar, maybe 20 points. I think this tour is dying. I think Gatland has botched it, and there you go, I guess.
Well, yeah, that was what we said by selection as well. Like, when you selected the players, it speaks to the wrong approach as far as we're concerned. If you want to go down to the All Blacks playing that conservative one runner off 9, smashing off 12, not like the only the dangerous try scoring machines we have are out wide, and they're not being played into the game by the system that we're employing, other than bringing them off their wing.
No intercept tries conceded, probably a bad sign. Because
you should be trying some things like Exeter.
Yeah, exactly. You should be trying things in those Super Rugby games to get it right for the Test games. They were really conservative in those Super Rugby games.
And they were held up over the line however many times.
Yeah.
That was like 9 times now, I think, they've been held over.
Come back to botch them. But it's because they're so tight.
That's exactly it. Yeah,
it's just good defending.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I think
that is another thing, actually, before we go that New Zealand are pioneering, is the body position on the last man defending. It was one thing that actually Barrett got right, and the weekend Henderson got a try held up over the line against the Hurricanes the other day. But they're getting their torso, their midriff between ball and line a lot of the time. They're doing a very good job of that. It's something new that I've noticed just even on this tour. But they're so ready for what this Lions team were set to bring. By the selection, it was obvious what they were going to bring. It was obvious the players like Jonathan Joseph are the ones who are the really unlucky ones. Tommy Seymour as well, I guess. So, like, these kind of players who Warren Gatland it seems like it had to pick someone like that, but was never intended on using them. And had it been Ringrose instead of Joseph or something, it would have been much the same. You would have been in the midweek team once or twice.
I definitely feel like Joseph has obviously been on poor form a couple of times. I definitely feel like Henshaw, whose tour is now over,
had a really good tour.
Really did get shafted by never being given a chance in those big teams. But again, a Henshaw Teo attack wouldn't have enough to offer.
No, it's too one-dimensional then.
Yeah, so it had to be again Henshaw Davis would have worked, or in my mind, what they should have been doing from week 1 is working with those 2 distributors, those 2 visionaries, and
getting the danger men out wide into the game.
We didn't get a chance to see if it worked, and that's the shame. Like, the 20 minutes against the All Blacks isn't enough. We didn't get a chance to see how it would have flowed, where their psyches would have worked together. If it didn't, it didn't.
Think Bod Roberts from '09 and how
Yeah.
much like that was played early doors in the midweek games and then it was tried again and then it was put into the tests. Like they had time to meld and train together. I'm pretty sure they've been training a few moves together as that with a mind towards that being the ace in the sleeve for Warren Gatland to bring it on after 60 minutes.
Again,
But
it's really childish to try and use it as a surprise instead of we're going to play them together, we're going to get them used to each other, and then if you all Blacks see it coming, whatever.
We play our game, you play yours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll see if you can stop us. But anyway, there you go.
There you go. That's our Lions exclusive show. We didn't really get to touch on the Hurricanes game, although it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, to be honest. Barrett was sensational.
Came back from 16 points at half time.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that since Leinster and Ireland.
Yeah, no, a really good way to wrap up the Super Rugby games of the tour.
And a wash, they finish 2.5 each.
2.5 each. That's so funny. All right, it's been a short one, but we're going to wrap up because I have to go to work and I don't want to be late. So, bye guys.
See you. Bye. Oh, you're done.
Yeah.